On today's episode of Hang with Hardcore, we have special guest Johnny Butler. Now, Johnny has an extraordinary story which ties into last week's podcast about how having high standards can change your life for the better. I have witnessed firsthand Johnny transform from an obese individual weighing in at a whopping 140 kilos to losing 60 kilos in just 18 months. This is the story of the underdog. He is a great representation that through the power of knowledge and mindset, that you can turn your life around and truly become the hero of your own journey. I welcome you to our dear friend Johnny Butler, the man with standards on another level, or as we like to call him here in the house, the savage. If you can't tell already, I'm super pumped up and I hope you enjoy.
Three, two, one. We're live, boys. So we've got Johnny Boy here. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Doing good.
Yeah?
Jonathan.
What's been happening?
Dockety.
Jonathan.
Dockety.
How are you,
John
mate?
Boy, John Boy.
Jonathan.
Big Jonna.
How you boys been doing?
Good, man. Really good.
Excellent. Thriving in lockdown as much as we can. Doing what we can.
Dude, it's bloody good to have you on. I'm excited to let these people know how much of a savage you are.
Only touching the surface, mate.
Only touching the
Only
surface.
touching the surface.
Well, like having you on, Johnny Boy, is like, you're the one guy that we can point to and like, please. We're preaching like high standards and stuff. I just love when we're talking about the running and stuff because Johnny Boy's win 3 times as much as us.
yeah.
Nah, it's a bit of an over-exaggeration.
No, literally. Like we were literally talking about it on the podcast we just recorded before, like raising your standards. We're talking about you.
Yeah.
Like you raised the standards so high in your life.
I guess for me now, it's like, it's my normal. So like when other people kind of look in on it, I guess like you guys are saying there's high standards, but for me, it's always been like whatever standard that is now my normal.
And what are you doing at the moment, like physically speaking?
Well, I'm still going through military training.
Yeah.
So, like training for army and stuff, that's kind of been the forefront of my mind. Physically, it's still, I mean, every day's the same as get up, suffer, work, rinse and repeat. That's about it.
What time are you getting up still?
Still about 3:30. So
Yeah.
that's kind of that staple, especially before heading off to training, that staple was that 3:30, get up, run, and then that whole day of just, training pretty much.
And you're not doing a measly run, I'm assuming?
Nah, so I guess my staple was like when I was working at the prison, because there were 12-hour days, I'd have to get up at usually 3:30. I'd do either 12, 15K run. And that was that kind of like more that heart rate training where it was like that long distance, slow running, more of like a recovery. So I'd do the 15Ks, go work 12 hours. And then after that, I'd get into my tire training, whether it was sparring, pad work, or if weights, if I didn't have it that day. And then my days off was usually same thing, up, run. And then I'd do midday training, then afternoon and night training.
So you'd work out before a 12-hour shift and then after a 12-hour shift.
It was weird because if I don't know, it sounds crazy, but
Savage, bro.
It's
Nah,
not
like,
great. Like we get it because there's something we touched on in the previous podcast of raising your standards. Go back and watch it if you haven't. Is 12-hour shift is not long. It's normal.
Yeah, in their mindsets, it's long.
For us.
Yeah.
like
normal.
it's one of those things, man. Like 8 hours are even worse because if you think about it, you still got 16 hours in a day, and then obviously factor in sleep as well. You still got so much time. But for me, it was I was able to function on 4 to 6 hours. Some people can't, some people can, some people can function on less. Obviously, it's not healthy, and sleep's one thing that I've realized now is sleep is the most important thing. But I was functioning 4, 6 hours sleep, and I was still able to do all that.
Yeah.
And if I didn't do that, if I didn't train and work out or kind of overcome that shit thing I didn't want to do in the morning, the rest of the day was like horrible. Like I'd be tired, I'd be lethargic. Where I found if I actually did just put out in that morning, then it sets you up for the rest of the day. It's not so much physically, it's more mentally, man.
Yeah,
like,
I was
it's
gonna
all
ask, like,
mindset. Like
most people would just work out once a day, but
Yeah.
you're working out in the morning before you go to work and then after you go to work. Is that like it's more for mental rather than physical?
100%.
Right?
It's it all started from mental,
Yeah.
like that mindset. And it isn't about training. Like as I've said to you guys plenty of times, it's not about the fitness. It's not about the appearance, and it's all mind. It's preparing yourself and setting yourself up as well, like those challenges and hurdles you have to overcome in life. And what I found was like training and health and fitness was the easiest path to get into like that pain and suffering and those hard struggle times to kind of set myself up and unlock all that mindset stuff. So
I like how he says unlock. You know,
because it's all
Yeah.
within us, right?
yeah.
It's just
absolutely.
hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for a lot of people. They just believe it's not them. It's not
Yeah.
in that kind of person. They're not that kind of person who can achieve those certain things.
Yeah.
But the word unlock, you know, it's true in all our cases, is putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations unlocked a higher limit for ourselves or a higher belief in ourselves, right?
Yeah. And David Goggins says, like, when you're running and you're like, you think you're about to die, you're just 40% done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
40%.
how much do you believe in that?
Oh, definitely, man. It's like anything. Everyone has like their fitness levels, right? Whether you can run 20Ks, run 5Ks, even if you can't run a K. It's at some point, every individual is going to get to a point where they're like, I don't want to do this shit. Like, this shit sucks. It doesn't even have to be fitness. It can be anything, right? But it's more than that kind of self-talk and understanding of like, all right, how long can I stay in this period of suffering? Because that's where that growth is, you know. Muhammad Ali, like, has so many quotes on that kind of stuff. It's like, you don't, like, his training started when it hurt, you know, and
We were literally talking about this.
yeah, you know, it's the same.
The
Yeah.
exact same quote. The
It's-
exact same
You can correlate it to like anything, man, in life. It doesn't have to be fitness either. It can be work, you know. Like, I remember when I was working at Dojo, I was the first one in there like an hour before the store even opened, or like at the business center doing in work like before the day even started, you know. And it's not like you want to be there early. It's not like you actually want to like do shit things, but voluntarily. And this is the thing that I found is it has to be voluntarily putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations. So for me with the training, it was voluntarily putting myself in just that shitstorm and just that struggle and suffering and pain, because I knew that through that I could answer everything that I needed and find out who I am and what I'm made of, and also kind of build that mindset leading into the future of overcoming those challenges. So when I do face an obstacle or I make a plan or whatever it is I want to do, I know that I can overcome it because I've done everything that I have.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty profound if you think about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people put limitations on their own selves. It's like, I can't achieve this. I can't go to that next level because I already got so much stress on my plate.
Yeah.
Right.
for sure.
And we'll touch on it really quickly here, but congratulations to Johnny Boy. He's just had a daughter.
Let's go,
Yes,
Jonna.
beautiful.
Let's go, Big Jonna.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's back from the army training. He's now just had a little baby.
Had a little girl.
Right. And he's still doing all these
Oh yeah. Doesn't stop
extra
him.
amounts of training. It doesn't stop for him. It doesn't stop for you, does it?
There's
Like,
no excuses. And like, it's one of those things where even like waking up at 3:30, you know, man, those conversations you have with yourself, and even like now everyone will find excuses to do anything, man, but I fucking hated it. Like, it's the worst shit. Like, you'd be sitting there in bed, it's like, I don't want to do this shit, you know, and having those conversations and those battles in the morning and overcoming that kind of sets you up for habit. So now, after so many years of just constantly doing shit that I don't want to do, it's just habit. It's like, well, it's just another day for me. Like I was saying back, it's my normal. Like now, I just suffer and I just put out no matter what, you know. And
excuses have been getting easier as well, right? Like, through technology and the convenience of how the world works, excuses are more ready available. Like, dude, this thing, just like, it's a tool, and if you use it wisely, it's great, but it's sitting next to your bed at all times. You just wake up in the morning, social media scroll, and you're like, that's all right, I'll do it tomorrow.
It's crazy how much bad and how much good you can do with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All tools, right?
Yeah.
They're goddamn beautiful.
But like, when was that switch for you of wanting to put yourself in those situations? Like, before you, I'm assuming you were just like a regular bloke.
nah, I was definitely below regular.
Yeah.
I was it kind of like stems back to when I was growing up, and that journey like through my childhood, and then that stemming into my teenage years and young adulthood. Like, Dylan's probably one of the only few that can contest to the kind of person that I used to be before, and that is not me who is sitting in front of you now. Like, I've done a complete 180 on who I am as a person. I could barely even sit here and look you guys in the eyes, let alone be in the same room.
So want me to describe like what you actually like?
Yeah, you can have a crack at it.
Alright. So me and Johnny Boy, we actually connected from playing Call of Duty professionally.
And what age is this?
I was probably what? I might have been 18 or 19 then.
It
You were
was-
probably a bit younger, 16.
Like we kind of first knew each other from, it would have been like Black Ops 1 almost, like when we
Like,
started.
competing against each
Yeah.
other.
So you two were just like playing online,
Yeah.
and that's how you two met.
Yeah, so like I had a
Pretty
team
much,
that I
yeah.
built called Team Emperor.
Yep.
And that was my squad. And I was like, we were like the underdogs, and like we like really tried to rise the ranks, and everybody knew us. Like we weren't coming from like an A-class league. We fucking built this
Yeah.
shit. And then Johnny Boy was in a similar position as well, so we would always like verse each other.
Okay.
And all the other top dogs, they would just, they're up themselves. They wouldn't want to compete with us.
Yeah.
But then we would rock up to LAN, we get like 4th place and stuff like this. But then eventually, like we were hitting a limit because I just felt like we didn't have the talent in my team to go to the next level. And luckily, Johnny Boy was just like, hey man, sent me a message, hey, you're a really good player. We were just going back and forth. Then we created our own team. It's like Johnny Boy was the leader. Johnny Boy started that team.
Yeah,
Let's go,
kind
Johnny.
of. Not really. Like, yeah, it was a shared effort.
Yeah.
Shared effort between the both of you?
Well, it was his idea. Johnny Boy's idea.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but like it was one of those things where
Wait, but you two separated from your respective teams and went, oh, I didn't know
created
that.
I didn't know that.
created the
yeah.
God
Yeah.
Squad.
The craziest thing is like,
What was it called?
Well, we played under Adamant at the time.
we
Yeah,
had a
during that time.
sponsor.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
shit!
we
I
had
didn't
a
know about
manager
this.
and everything.
I
Let's
didn't
go,
know that's
boys.
how it went down. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And our manager, fun fact, was a Age of Empires pro.
Hey.
Sesh?
Sesh.
Boys, wrap up the podcast. Sesh.
I'll say something real quickly. Like, that for me was like one of the hardest decisions of my life, to leave something that I built.
Mm.
And I had so much attachment. I came up with the name, the logo. I built it in Photoshop. I taught myself Photoshop, everything. And then I just remember saying, like, I was thinking about it for months. I'm like, this is like such hard for me to leave people that I inspired to join me, and then close that thing down and leave them behind. I just remember thinking, like, please, just like, it's like even thinking to God, please allow this to result in something, man, please. And then I never, like, we didn't win anything. We probably came around 4th in Sydney as well.
Yeah, it was about that top 3, top 4. So
This is like all across Australia, right?
Yeah, across Australia. So we flew down to Sydney, competed there. It was all paid for and all that stuff. And then I'm just like thinking, it didn't result in anything. But we had a lot of fun times and all of that. But it's now that I realize it. We're so bloody fortunate, to be in the room here with bloody Johnny Boy.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking wild, man.
crazy
Dude.
times.
It's insane.
We speak about luck a little bit, but
Boys, you guys
just
that
being
shit.
able to, both of you been interested in gaming when gaming was still that nerd thing when it didn't exist, to be able to competing at such a pro level, both of you in Australia, in a similar location, to actually be able to have a conversation with each other and get along with each other.
Yeah.
And then for you to be able to, like, the easy decision for you is to not leave your team.
Yeah.
Similar. That's the easy decision.
Yeah.
And that's the decision most taken, or the path most taken, guaranteed.
Like whatever happened in those Call of Duty days, I don't even care. Like it's about now. Like, I'm just so thankful for, this relationship, and
It's
what
been a
what
long
we have.
time. There's a lot of history there. And looking back on it, man, like I still to this day count my lucky stars for just like being that fortunate to have like deal there, and going through everything we did.
Yeah. And I'll talk about like what you were actually like. So like physically speaking, when I knew you were always a big boy, but then when we actually met in real life, you were 140 kilos probably at that time, right?
Yeah, or it would have been a little bit less.
A little bit less,
Yeah, it would
then?
have been probably
Yeah.
like 120.
And then
130,
140 you were your max.
Yeah.
At 120, you were so big that you would always wear baggy clothes, always with a hoodie on, obviously to cover the rolls and all of that. You would honestly have tits like this fucking big. No joke. They were hangers, man. They were some hangers.
I was a big boy. And this is
No.
what these guys don't realize.
No,
Like,
one tit is that big.
One
One tit. And like
Fuck,
when
man.
they were literally probably triple E's. but like when a girl's got triple E's, they're together, right?
Oh yeah, it's
These ones
Oh,
go
yeah.
by the side.
this motherfucker laying down. He's got back tits, dude. This
They would actually hang under his
This
underarms.
shit being in his
Fuck, man.
underarms.
That would be so miserable to live like that.
Yeah, it was a hard time.
Yeah.
But like, it was shit. But at the same time, like, I wasn't really like, I was aware, but I was still like, at that time, I was still fortunate because I thought I had like good people around me too, you know. So I didn't really care. Like, I cared obviously, but at the same time, I was just trying to enjoy. Because at that time, that was like that small piece of happiness. Like, that was the only like piece of happiness I had in my life during that time.
It was from the gaming stuff. wasn't
Yeah, and just like not even just that, just like actually being at events with like
Oh.
Dylan and like mates and actually having friends and shit, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, like not more seriously speaking, like Johnny Boy was so big. Yeah, he had, you know, that was the size of him. You had a lot of fat on your neck as well. When I think it literally pushed his head down. So I don't think he could pull it up even. And you had a lot of confidence issues where, yeah, you couldn't look in people's eyes. I remember when we were walking onto the stage, like we had to line up at the ceremony and in front of the cameras and it's live streamed to the whole world and all of this stuff. I felt really sorry for you.
Yeah, that was a shit time.
Yeah, like
I
can
still
just
have that
feel-
video.
Yeah,
Like, I took a video of it like only recently, probably like 12 months ago.
yeah.
And just seeing like, fuck.
Oh, we should put that on the screen.
I was
Yeah.
fucked
I'll
up
chuck it
back
on the
then.
screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's insane.
But yeah, like I could see like you were a damaged boy. It was bloody rough.
Far out, man.
Wait, well, where does like? Can we touch on your childhood? Like, where does
Yeah.
where's that damage
Mm.
come from? Like, what made you into that overweight, you know, person who really just has no social cues, is low confidence, low self esteem? Like,
Yeah, so I think
where'd that come from?
ultimately it's on my shoulders. At the end of the day, I was the reason that I was in that position, you know. And even moving past that, like, I still had challenges beyond that time, because I would have been 18, 19, probably just turned 18, and then past that I still had issues. But before that, so yeah, like growing up, everyone has their like issues and struggles and challenges going through their childhood. You know, everyone faces something. I'm no different to that. And growing up, I didn't seek sympathy for that either. You know, I knew the cards that I got dealt with at the time. So like when I was young, my parents split. I didn't really know of a time that they were together. I had my brother who's just probably about 18 months, a bit less younger than me. And then from there, like my mum and stepdad were on one side, and then my father was on the other side. And then there was probably 15 years of just family court, just in and out of court. There was a lot of struggle. It was like, yeah, it was a hard time growing up. And I think a lot of that did impact of who I was then, but I didn't realize it at the time either. And I think from that experience, I think that's why I said like that small like happiness, like that probably 16 years was like the worst time. It was just struggle, pain, hurt, and to the point where, yeah, I had to grow up very quick, and I learned a lot about life at a young age when I probably didn't really need to learn those lessons so young, which hurt me growing up as well.
So did you feel like with those experiences that you had, you were forced to grow up quicker
Yeah,
and
so
be more aware of what's happening around you?
yeah,
Be more aware of how you're feeling. That kind of
yeah, I
stuff?
think I kind of, when you're in almost survival mode, you see the world a lot differently. And when there's a lot of pain around you and a lot of like hurt around you, and a lot of pain inflicted as well, you see the world almost like in a blur. And you almost kind of question reality in some ways. Like, is this just me? So like being that young, you know, like I was probably 12-ish or so when I was living at my mum and stepdad's, and they ended up kicking me out. So at that point, like I was on my own for a period of time. And like my parents didn't know. Like my dad thought I was at my mum's, my mum thought I was at the dad's, but I was sleeping in a park when I was like 12, 13, still going to school. I was flogging food from Woolies and like just doing everything I could to try and survive. And that period of time, especially, is when I had the most growth and kind of looking out in the world, being like, where am I? Like, who am I? What am I doing? Like, this is like, surely, like, there has to be something from all of this. So
Fighting for survival at the age of 12 is not an experience that I think many people have.
No, a lot of people can't relate to that.
you'll find that, I think it's also perspective though.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like, a lot of people go through their thing. And for me, like, going back on it, a lot of it was on my shoulders. You know, I was a shit kid growing up. And I think my parents, I can't blame my parents, and like my stepdad at the time. Like, I can't judge them or view them on the things that they kind of raised us in, because they also were going through their own challenges, their own journey, their own life. Like, they had their own issues that they necessarily didn't kind of confront themselves, and that bled onto us as children. And then from that, like, there was a lot of times there where they probably overreached too much as a child. But at the end of the day, like, I still look back and be like, there's a lot of things that I could have done differently. There was a lot of signs and signals there where I still probably should have recognized growing up.
See, we know what you're talking about. It's called extreme ownership. That's what you're doing right there now. To be able to recognize that, is that something you're realizing now, or is that something you realized at that age, that it was, everything was, it's on my shoulders. I can, everything that is happening to me is something that, is done to me for whatever my reason, or what's the correct wording there? I'm not sure, but is that something you realized back at that age, or is it something you're just realizing now? And like, how? Because that's not an easy thing to know, right? Especially, well, really at any age, and with things that are so seeming out of your control. And, with a divorce rate at 50%, a lot of people will blame that specifically. They would say, that's the one thing that turned me into whatever the hell, any other problems that they have and the problems that you had. So what is it that allowed you to realize that? And did you realize it back then?
I definitely didn't realize it back then.
Right.
Back then, I was, like I was saying, I was pretty much in survival mode. My parents, my parents split. So, like, after that 12, 13 period, I was with my dad predominantly. My brother stayed with my mum and stepdad. So those first probably 12 years were essentially the worst. But in saying that, as I got older, and especially now having my little girl, looking back on like my childhood, and even like my 8-year-old boy on my partner's side, understanding the impact and influence that you have as a parent on your children, and going through everything I did and having to answer questions within myself, I realized they didn't answer those questions themselves. And that's where I kind of stood back and I was like, all right, well, I can't really blame them for the upbringing that we had, because they were facing their own challenges and their own issues that they didn't necessarily actually face, and they didn't answer those questions within themselves. And that kind of made me reflect on it, being like, like, being that age, understanding what I do now, there was a lot of signs and signals where, like, I did make it a lot harder for them as well as a child. Whether it was because of my environment or the things that were happening is kind of irrelevant. I still had choices that I made back then. And like 5, 6, 7, sure, like, you kind of understanding a little bit of like right and wrong. Back then I still knew that everything that was going around me was not right. And this was not kind of an environment that is classified as normal,
Is that why you kind of distance yourself from other people? Because you felt like what you're going through is not normal, so you can't really relate to anyone else?
Yeah, I was definitely an introvert. And I think that kind of definitely, as I got older, like, that led into the forms like social anxiety and, like Dill was speaking, not having any self-confidence, insecurities, and not being able to trust anyone either. Because you got to remember, like, I was like a young kid having trust in these people that are carrying over you, and in some ways they were inflicting a lot of pain as well. So there was kind of a lot of confusion growing up. But in saying that, coming back to like taking ownership of it, I also, being a parent now, have taken a lot of positives from my mum, stepdad, and dad, because they still had a lot of lessons to teach. And I wouldn't be the man I am today without them, 100%. Like, a lot of my qualities, a lot of characteristics and behavior, and the way I see the world and interact with people and all that kind of stuff still stems from my childhood. So it isn't all like doom and gloom, but there was a lot there that I had to grow up and kind of deal with. So
yeah. So speaking of trust, though, like you said, you couldn't trust a lot of people back then. What made you trust this man? What made you associate with this man?
It was
You know,
weird because I remember sending out so many messages, and that was when I was just jumping on social media for the first time. Everybody was giving no, constant no's, rejection.
yeah,
And then you were just a hard yes.
I think
What happened there?
so.
We hadn't spoken for a while, right?
Yeah, that was years, like
Yeah.
a lot of time in that space. I guess to give context to that, at that period of time, I kind of just moved to Melbourne. I would have been in Melbourne a little bit, but I was, so like my first place that I was at was a shithole. Like I could barely afford it. I was telling Doc the other day, like to heat the apartment, I had to open the oven door and turn it on.
No
Like
way.
I barely had $1 to my name, but also I was 140 kilos. I was fucked up, like mentally, like I was an absolute mess. I was in a rut. There was a lot of damage that was done that kind of just accumulated over time. And on top of that, like that kind of led into just poor decisions and poor choices, you know? So I was in pretty much a hole, and I had like social anxiety. I couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't even go out of the house to get a haircut. I had no friends. I had a partner at the time that was like pretty much doing everything she could to just help me, but I wasn't helping myself. There was a lot of struggle during that time. And then I remember I was like dabbling in little things like marketing, and I think it was like some MLM stuff, just trying to get some money. And I reached out to Dylan about it because I seen him with his business stuff, and I was like, look, what do you think about this? And then that kind of started that conversation. And then from there, I kind of opened up a little bit because I had that trust growing up. Like I was probably 13, 14, all the way through to what I would have been like early 20s of just knowing him. He was probably the only person that I still had contact with from that period of time, even going through school. So I started to open up a little bit about like my situation where I'm at. And then he started talking about the hardcore Headstart stuff. And actually, no, it started with the Wheatpicks Diet and like the nutrition, because he's like, I got you.
Add some value first.
Yeah.
Man. That's how you get them.
Yeah.
That's how you build
100%.
trust.
That's how you got
100% falls back on this diet. It isn't even a diet. I don't know what it is.
What's the
but
diet?
It's called a Wheatpicks Diet, but it isn't even on Wheatpicks.
Don't
I
even
don't
eat
understand.
Wheatpicks on it.
Yeah, like I was telling Doc, like this meal is just the biggest meal in this thing. I sent him a photo after I cooked it. I was like, you fucked up, bro. I was like, so it's 500 grams of mince, like the leanest mince you can get, 2 packets of 2-minute like fat-free noodles, 1 kilo of veggies, right? Frozen veg, all in like this pot. And you just
Dude,
cook
I
it up.
tried that.
Yeah, you got that one.
Shit.
It's fucking Mount Everest on a plate.
But instead of the noodles, I actually tried the konjac noodles, which has 0
Oh,
calories.
yeah, that's even leaner.
All right, so he sent me this thing. So at this time, like I was struggling hard, you know, like I was a mess. So I would have been at Altona, and I still remember like there was 12 o'clock at night. So there was parts of me that knew there's still something there. So I still had spurts of motivation, and I still had like a thought of knowing that there's just more to this. Like surely my life means something more to this. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a complete mess, but I'd still, for some reason, attempt to run down like Altona Beach, covered in puffer jackets and hoodies and shit, because I was so insecure.
At midnight though.
Yeah, like it was pitch black.
Far
I
out,
couldn't do it. I couldn't be seen by anyone. I was pretty fucked up at this time. And so I knew there was things that I was doing and like thoughts coming into my mind of like trying to be better, but I just didn't really understand like where to go with that. And for the first time, like when I sat down with Deal, or when we spoke over the phone, he's like, look, start with the food. It's like he sent me this Wheatpicks Diet thing and kind of held me accountable. And it wasn't so much that started, it was just his belief in me. Like for the first time ever, I had someone there beside me that was like genuinely trying to like give me help and just lend a hand with nothing in return, you know? And yeah, he probably didn't know it at the time, but he literally changed my life and saved my life in so many ways.
Yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't for that initial kind of belief, then yeah, I definitely wouldn't be here today. So
Johnny boy, do you believe in fate?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, definitely.
Because like out of all the people in your contact list, he was the one.
Yeah.
Dylan was the only one. Like, what are the chances that the one person that you can contact is the right person? That's a crazy coincidence, don't you think?
Not only that, but like even how we met and our story, you know, like everything we went through to even just still be in contact after that.
Yeah.
And it would have been like a solid few years before we even spoke. And we randomly just started like talking about like this business shit, and then led into like helping with nutrition, in which then he opened up the door for all the hardcore Headstart stuff. You know?
Yeah, I remember Dylan showed us a photo of you taking the Hardcore Headstart course.
That was, I think, the
that
first
3-day
course as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
3-day
very
course.
first
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Dude, you look vastly different to when you
I was
started
a completely different human
Yeah.
back
Well,
then, man.
I'll be the one to not sugarcoat it. You look like a truck.
Mate.
A truck or a tugboat?
Tugboat.
You look like if one of those billionaires' yachts broke down and just started decomposing.
Dude.
Dude, so
It was like,
Johnny
like I was saying, there's not many people that can kind of contest to who I was back then. Other than Dill, and there was a few like I said, my partner at the time as well. She kind of went through it all with me. So it's easy. It's easy to even driving here, man. I was looking back. It's like very few times I actually look back on everything, like my childhood, growing up the way I did, my teenage years, everything I've kind of done, and then even the last like 5-6 years, just like the astronomical growth that I've had. It's easy to kind of sit here now and be like, yeah, this is who I am. But looking back, it's almost unbelievable. Of like I was telling like Doherty, you know, it feels like I've lived 1,000 different lives, and I'm just finally like coming full circle. But it's still only the beginning. You know, it's
I
crazy.
think a really cool story from like Johnny around this time of the Wheatpicks Diet and your previous partner was you walking up the mountain.
Yeah, well, that was another thing that started it. So, I guess fate. A couple of days later, she comes to me and she's like, "We're climbing this mountain." I was like, "Fuck, this physique does not climb mountains." I was like, "It ain't happening." But
this tugboat doesn't climb.
So
I don't know if you know how boats work, but they're
all right. So I was like, at this time, it was literally pretty much the same time that I started talking to Dill about this nutrition stuff, and I don't even know what made me do it, but I ended up like I was near Yu Yang's, which is a spot in Victoria. Started climbing this mountain. This shit sucked. Like 140 kegs is not. It isn't even a mountain. It's Flinders Peak. It takes like 40 minutes to get up. It's nothing. It's just stairs.
Yeah.
But that shit sucked and it hurt bad. And then this is when I knew I had a problem. Right? I was that heavy that I had shin splints walking this fucking Flinders Peak. Right? Like it was just a horrible time. But at the end of it, I was like, all right, like this sucked. Right? This feeling of just still accomplishing something, but knowing that like I had to like this feeling of suck to get to that point. And from that moment, I pretty much dove into just like Dill, hardcore Headstart, and this mountain. So I couldn't run, I couldn't fucking exercise. I was too big to do anything. So I'd spend like 4 or 5 times, just go out of a morning and just like climb this Flinders Peak and do hikes and shit. And then at the end of the day, I'd do laps around a lake, usually about 12-15k, just walking. That's all I could do was just walk. And then I held accountable by Dill for like with the nutrition stuff. And then that's kind of the start of it. That was the moment where things changed and I started to really get obsessed with that personal development and being like, all right, this is the path that I need to take, because this path that I was going down, I was going to end up 6 foot in the ground very, very fucking quick, you know? So
there's a little part of that story that probably would go not spoken about, is that voice inside Johnny's head that was telling you to go and walk at midnight. There was still a little bit of belief in you. Like, I feel like a lot of people will have that but wouldn't listen. Right? Have you ever been able to kind of articulate what that was?
I think it kind of just stems back to growing up, to be honest. I knew that I overcome a lot in that period of time. I went through a lot during that period of time, and it was it was lonely. Like that shit, like I didn't have anyone there. You know, at that time I didn't have my partner either. It was just myself just going through this shit. And like I didn't have like even my brother at the time, like he was with my mom. I spent predominantly my time with my dad. All of us kids were going through a lot. Even like my little sister and brother, they ended up going through something similar to what me and my brother did later on. So there was that kind of voice there that was telling me, I seeked comfort. That's all I did growing up. Was like I seeked comfort. I'd done the shit that I wanted to do. Anything that was uncomfortable or just I didn't want to do, I just didn't do. And that's what led me to being so big, and not just physically, but mentally. Like I was undisciplined, I was lazy, unmotivated, and it led to a lot of mental health issues and just being in that hole. And I knew that if I continued to go down that path, like I said, it wasn't a pleasant path to go down, and I already seeked comfort. So once I started to kind of listen to that voice a little bit more of like going down the uncomfortable side of things and starting to do things I didn't want to do, I knew that that is the kind of path that I needed to take,
Sounds like that little voice was, that survival part of you that helped you, stay, not just alive, but grow throughout your childhood. It's that survival part of you that's like, hey, what you're doing right now is not sustainable, my guy. You need to make some changes and stop surviving, but start actually growing.
Yeah.
So when you're climbing these mountains, how often were you going?
It would have been almost every day. It was
Every
like
day.
a solid 5 days. Like
How long did it take you to get up there?
at the start, it was probably like an hour trip up and back.
Up
Hour,
and down,
hour
up and
a half.
down.
Yeah, like it'd take a fair bit. But I was also like, it wasn't a leisurely stroll.
Yeah.
Like I funneled at that period of time. I was funneling a lot of just emotion. So like that was, I'd always push myself. I don't even kind of before I was getting big, I had a snippet of like BMX racing, footy, soccer. I knew what's like at elite level as well. I kind of understood what hard work was. I kind of had an idea of determination, and like I was fit back then, so I went from fit to fucking tugboat back to fit. But yeah, so I kind of like straight away instantly just was pushing myself. And I don't know what it is. For some reason, I guess kind of back on that survival thing, no matter what I'd done, I always just put 100% in. I never really had that idea of quitting.
Yep.
Even getting to how big I did and going through everything I did, I just didn't quit.
Yeah. So you're also touching on like the pain. You're saying about the shin splints.
Yeah.
Your shin splints when you're walking, but what other pain? Like literally like go from like head to toe. Like what were you actually feeling going up that?
Body like hurt. Like it hurt. It was painful.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I seeked comfort for so long. I didn't want that life because it was barely a life as it was, let alone it wouldn't have lasted very long. So I knew that like I'd done that shit. Now let's do this shit.
Yep.
And going through that pain, not just physically, but mentally, like it brought up a lot of shit that I just knew I wasn't aware of at the time. But as I was going through like that mental suffering, it brought up everything, man. It brought up all the shit that I was growing up with. It just all the unanswered questions I had, who I was, what the fuck I was doing, all the shit with like my parents, my siblings, relationships, friendships, everything came up. And I knew like, fuck, like there's a lot of shit there that I buried.
Oh, yeah.
That fatigue state, huh?
Yeah.
When your mind can't hide things.
Yeah. And that's when that shit started coming up. Like, all right, and that's what I need to answer.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the key point as well. Like everybody that is struggling in life, that's what they do. It's easy to just chuck it in the back of your brain, forget
bury
about
that
it.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Put a bloody combination lock on it. And
It comes back up, man. And for me, it came back up hard. Like it, not even with the fitness stuff. Like before, like as you saw, I was messed up.
Yeah.
And that's what that continuous shoving under the rug did. I didn't face everything I did when I was growing up. I didn't understand it. I was confused. And then going into my teenage years and obviously young adulthood, that shit kind of boiled into the hot mess that I was.
We talk about a lot, like if you've got something that's challenging your mind, go deeper in on it. a lot of people will say, oh, just forget it, or meditate, or relax. Or meditate's actually not a bad one, but, relax, listen to some music, chill out.
Stop thinking so much.
Yes.
Stop
Yeah,
thinking
stop
so
thinking-
much.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that is as far, like, it's the opposite of what you need to do. You need to literally sit in a room with noise-cancelling headphones on with nothing playing and think as
Literally
deep
to
as
do
possible.
less, think more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As deep as possible.
Changing the way you think as well, though. Not many people do that. They don't change the way they think. They don't change the way their mind works.
So would you say you doing the fitness stuff was the catalyst for changing your mindset? Like,
Yeah.
the catalyst?
100%, because that was the quickest way to put myself into that suffering mode.
Yeah.
It wasn't about how I looked. It wasn't about any of that stuff really. It wasn't about being fit. At that time, military was a big part of it actually as well, where I knew that voluntary seeking discomfort, putting myself in like continually, even before the military, just putting myself in uncomfortable situations and through a lot of shit, I'd learn a lot more. But like there was certain aspects in the military that I wanted to go down because I knew that that's where that growth and challenge and stuff would come from. But fitness was the quickest way for me to kind of answer that shit. Yeah.
I think for a lot of people it would be, because it's the most tangible way of going deeper into your mind, see what you're capable of doing. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, it's like that suffering, man. Like, it doesn't matter how fit you are. Everyone's going to break at some point. Everyone's going to get to a point where they're like, I don't want to do this shit.
Yeah.
It's how long can you last in that mind state? How long can you last in that pain and suffering to answer those questions that you really need to fucking dig up?
So I'm sure it answers the questions, and it also builds the mind to be able to deal with those problems better.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Deal with that, rough state. It helps you stay in there longer. Like, the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you can stay in that state. The more problems you solve, and the stronger you get. So,
well, like now, like I was saying before, that's my new normal. And only getting through that, it's that continuous push of standards.
Yep.
Like, I hold myself to a higher standard, where a lot of people are like, you're crazy. But as soon as someone says that I'm crazy or they don't understand what I'm doing, like, that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, because you don't understand. If only you did, you have so much potential and you have so much there that you can unlock, but you're just not putting yourself in that little bit of suffering to find out what you're actually capable of doing. So for me, it was always raising that bar and setting that new normal,
being that when you're doing all this stuff, you started the hardcore Headstart journey, or the 3-day course that we're doing, that Dylan was giving at the time. You then started raising your standards even further, right? So you went past the physical stuff. The physical stuff was something you were just doing along the side of the personal development.
Yeah, hugely. So that kind of falls back to, like with Dill, where I had that much like trust and belief in him, where like he sat me down and he was like, all right, like, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Like, what is it that you actually want in your life? And that hardcore Headstart kind of journey, I account for everything. Everything I am today, everything I do in the future always falls back to that, because the way it was laid out and the way that he helped me was that, especially with that personal development, like I threw myself into that. The books, the studying, the learning, because I knew, like, I was obsessed with just getting better. And because of all of that personal development stuff, it kind of led into building those blocks, building that foundation. That was the foundation. Literally, that hardcore Headstart at the beginning was the foundation for me to build on who I am today.
I remember you going so hard at the books, like, and you're telling me, like, every time I ask you, have you done this book done? Have you done this book done? I'm like, dude, this guy's, is he lying to me? Because I was like, I could see so many people were actually lying to me when I asked them, like, oh, how many books are you doing and all of this stuff? And you going at a rate that was so quick. And I'm like, dude, this is not possible. Like, how are you actually going and doing this physical stuff? 2 hours up a mountain, 2.5 hours walking 15K around a lake, working, and then pumping out the books faster than, like, the majority of people. I just couldn't believe it. And then now, like, it took me time to realize, like, oh, fuck, you're the real deal. And now you're like, you scare the fuck out of us. Because, like, when we're going on runs, like, I remember the other day, last summer, it was the hottest day in Melbourne. It was like 40 degrees or something. Johnny Boy's like, oh, you want to go on an easy recovery run? It's always a recovery run.
Dude, fuck. Listen, I want to put this out there. Fuck you for you coming here and saying, "Oh, you want to do a recovery run?"
Dude, your
'Cause you
recovery
all-
runs are 20K.
Dude, the minute I hear someone say recovery run, I'm like,
insane.
fuck, what? No.
So, we're going
20K is
out.
with like a water jug.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went on this one was 16K, but it's really hot. Like you don't know like 40 degrees is like until you actually start running that amount of distance in that heat. But I remember I'm stopping every 3K to get a sip of water to hydrate.
Yeah.
This guy's like, I don't drink water. And he keeps going. I don't drink water. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Nah, I'm good.
Motherfucker's grabbing the shit, just licking his sweat.
Why is that? Why do you not drink water when you're running?
I just don't feel the need to.
You don't feel thirsty?
Did you hear
Nah.
that shit? Body's made
So-
of 70% water.
like-
I don't need it.
Are you a camel?
No, well, if you think about it, it was only like an hour and a bit of running and sweating. Like, mate, you can go fucking 30 days without food, go a week without water. I mean, you can survive an hour and a bit. But I genuinely didn't need it. And I think, like, it's not healthy. I back on it. It's not healthy. Even to this day, like, I still do a lot of dumb shit. But that's the problem that I'm facing now, like, needing to scale back. Because, like, for instance, like, that run, I've already done 1,000 times. Like, you know, like, whenever like in the mornings at 3:30, whether it was raining, -6, hailing, it didn't matter. Like I still ran. I still just got up and done the work. And even outside of that, like I could do a full day of training, sparring, weights, a run, and then it'd be the end of the day. Like I was telling Doc the story the other day where like I'd done weights in the morning, and then I'd done a sparring session and a 10K run. It was my day off, and I was just going to recover that night. Fucking started storming outside. It was shit weather. It was raining. And I was sitting on the couch and I just knew straight away. I was like, the moment I have that thought of like, this shit's going to suck, I'm out there doing it. And I was like, fucking, it's raining. I'm like, I'm already tired as it is. You got to remember, I've already done a full day of what most people would do in a week.
You did sparring that day?
Yeah. And then a 10K run after the sparring. And I went out and done another 10Ks in this fucking storm. But consistently doing that over a long period of time, that's the new normal for me, you know. But it didn't start there, you know. It started it started at the Yang. It's just fucking getting shin splints going.
It's just
up and down.
iterations, yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the rate at which you were losing weight? So when you
I
started
lost
going to
about
Games,
60 kilos in less than a year and a half, about 18 months. I lost a lot of weight very quick.
Did you feel good after losing that weight so quickly?
Yeah, but it wasn't so much losing the weight. It was more, what am I going to do now that I've lost it? Like, what am I going to do with this? Like, a lot of opportunities opened, a lot of doors open. During that process, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about losing the weight. It was the mindset. You know, like I was able to grow so much in that period of time, and even moving forward with all the books, all the knowledge, and having like people like Dill beside me just guiding me through all of that, keeping me on that path where I was able to like I said, overcome all that social anxiety stuff. I gained confidence in myself. I was able to add value to those around me as well. And then from there, like I pretty much sat down and made a plan. And during that, it wasn't like wishful thinking. It was, I literally sat down, I was like, this is the shit that I'm going to do in my life. This is where I'm going. And I sat down and I made each kind of point. I had like checkbox after checkbox of where I wanted to go and laid out each step that I needed to take. So everything that I'd done, every book I read, every, like even like doing Muay Thai, for instance, every job that I took, everyone that I kind of associated with, every conversation I had, everything led into this, just where I want to go and what I want to do. Right. And that all stems back from pretty much the beginning. So.
Damn, man.
That's why we say we're scared of him, boss.
Dude, that's why you're a savage, bro. Fucking 10K run when it's hailing outside. God damn.
Nah, it's nothing now. It's fine.
We talk about standards all the time, and physically,
Yeah.
Johnny Boy standards are so high.
Mm.
It's even for us to be able to look at. We're like, far out, boss. I am
thing is,
pathetic
like-
in comparison.
Nah, it's not. Everyone has it. That's the thing, right? Everyone has it with them. It doesn't have to be fitness. It can be the same as like your career path. For me, I just found that, like I say all the time, like my relationships, my career, my finances, all this fitness, everything comes into itself. Like what you learn from one, you can bring into the other kind of thing. So it all kind of comes around as one for me. But everyone has it within them, you know, even like all the different career paths that I took was all just so I could learn something from, like sales within Telstra, you know, it was the psychology part, learning about people, understanding people, conversations, and then excelling in that environment. And then going into the prison was getting exposed to pretty much stress inoculation and just getting fucked up pretty much every day in there. And then obviously the military side of things. And then on the back end of that, still all the finance, investing, trading, all that kind of stuff. And then the fitness and health. I learned so much just about nutrition, about not only the body, but my body, how my body works with training and eating. And then with the Muay Thai side of things, that's probably one of the biggest parts of the confidence was like the martial arts, understanding that. There's so much there, but it's all kind of come around to one, if that makes sense.
Full circle, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about like career, like work as well, because I like your principle of how you choose where you work.
Yeah.
Like it makes a lot of sense, and if a lot of people followed that, they'd progress quicker. Do you want to?
Yeah. So if you
much
do
more
anything
context.
for money alone, you're not going to last very long. And even having nothing to my name, you know, back at that shitty little studio apartment in Altona, where like I still knew back then that if you've done anything for money, you're not going to really truly understand the value behind it. And like that was the biggest thing for me, was like, say for instance with Telstra, you know, going in there and in the sales environment, like I could barely have a conversation with someone like 12 months ago, let alone get out of my house.
Yeah.
But now I'm sitting in front of people excelling in that environment, you know, and understanding I needed to work on things within myself. So taking a step back from that, actually being honest with yourself, being truthful with who you are, your weaknesses, your shortfalls, your strengths, and understanding, just not lying to yourself really. Because no matter where you go or what you do in your life, let's just say for me, like if you lie to yourself and who you are, then you're just going to pretty much shoot yourself in the foot. You're not going to get to where you want to go. And when you do get to those hard times and those struggles, you're not going to be able to get through it because it's just built on bullshit. You know, so for me, I had to look myself in the mirror. I was fat. Okay. Overweight. This is why. And I had to answer all these questions. The social anxiety, all the mental fucking issues that I had going on. I needed to work and build on my character and who I was, which is hence going down the path of the different careers I did. I didn't do it for money. You know, I knew that in the long run, money will come.
Yeah.
Finance will come.
Yeah.
Again, that stems back to the hardcore Headstart stuff of just understanding personal development of finance and all that kind of stuff. But I needed to first work on myself and be the best that I can, so then I can actually be of value to other people.
I think that's really great advice. Like that's actually something that I'm trying to tell my little sister right now, because she's 18, about to graduate from year 12, and she's recognized that she doesn't want to do university, but then everybody's trying to give her advice of what she has to do. And you know, right now it seems like her option that she's leaning towards is just go work with mum, because mum's got an all right business and all of that. But I just keep saying to her, like, mum's business is always going to be there. That should be you might end up there, but try everything else first.
Yeah.
Learn stuff like, oh, I don't want to work at Macca's or, you know, Nando's. We always say Nando's, you know, because the pay's shit or whatever. It's not about the bloody pay. It's about what you learn, what you become there.
Yeah.
Once you've mastered it and you feel like you can't really progress, because there's like such you learn so quick, and then you hit a plateau. Once you hit that plateau, then leave, go somewhere else. You know,
I think a lot of people that age, they have that mindset of I'm gonna waste time if I try things. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I think we all experience that at some point. But back to like what Gary Vee always says, you could be a failure for all your life. Even when you're 30, you're still young as fuck. You still have, 3 lives to live.
Be patient.
Yeah. Be patient, think long term, work on yourself.
I love how you
try
say
different
go,
things.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. That's
Yeah.
my bad. But I love how you say go and work somewhere to fix your holes.
yeah.
Like it just makes so much sense.
Well, it's like that failure aspect, you know. A lot of people see failure in a negative light. For me, it was always like fail fast, you know, just fail, like whatever it is I'm doing. If I'm going to fail, just fail fast and fail forward, because then like that's where I fucking learn shit, you know. It's like, well, I'm not going to learn anything if I don't even try.
Yeah, you need that feedback
Yeah.
to see where you are.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where, like, even to this day, everything I do, I'm always seeking not failure in a negative way, but at least I know, okay, this is where I'm lacking. This is my shortfall. This is where I need to actually work on.
You went from not being able to speak or not being able to run in front of people to speak to people, to be able to look at people in the eyes, to making $1 million deals inside of Telstra, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Like you're dealing with, like, the thing is, so for me, like let's just say with Telstra, with my journey there, right, it was working at a retail store. Still at that point, like, I'd lost a lot of the weight. I was a lot more confident, but on the back end of that was a lot of personal development and growth. So I knew going into that, I was very confident in my abilities and who I was and what I was capable of doing. So I already knew that no matter what I'd done or no matter what I chose to do, I was always going to give it 100%. And then I knew if I failed, like, all right, cool, that's where I need to learn, that's where I need to move forward and just keep going forward. And back to like the plateau thing, every time I got to a point where I've learned as much as I could in this specific area, go to the next one. So like whether it was like customer advisor at Telstra to like managing stores to going into businesses and then climbing your way up through that, through the corporate side of things, it was always continuing to learn and gaining as much knowledge as I could and failing as much as I could in different areas so I knew which path to go down. Most people they get a promotion at their job or they might go to a different area because it's a higher pay, you know.
Oh, don't go for
you
the
know,
money.
but then
Don't change for the money.
once they go there for the money, their lifestyle increases anyway.
Yeah.
So they're back at the same spot.
I saw so many people at Nando's where they had the good thing about Nando's, you have the opportunity to rise to the top really quickly. I saw so many people leave to go to Coles just to serve customers there for the higher pay.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't get it. Like, that's going to actually hold you back. Yeah, you make a little bit more money now. It's actually going to hold you back long term.
You want more control of your time and more flexibility to be able to, I mean, there's nothing better than being the manager. Get to control how everything, moves. Yeah, that's the best experience. So
You'll find that, I think that kind of falls back to the mindset though as well. Like a lot of people don't like to be challenged and they don't like to be the lesser of value in a room either.
Yeah.
Like people love to be the best of the average. And Muay Thai is a perfect example of that, as you probably know in gyms. Like people they'd rather be in a room knowing that people are telling them everything they want to hear and their confidence and shitting on everyone, where the individuals that want to be, I guess, uncommon amongst those uncommon are the ones where you're going to get the growth. So for me, it's always been, all right, I need to put myself at the lowest point and have somewhere to keep striving for and be around people that are similar minded as well.
Yeah, you want to be the least knowledgeable in a smart room instead of the smartest in a dumb room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no point. There's no growth there.
Most
only
people
place
just
you
don't
go
do
is
that
down.
though. Most people just, it's a lot more comfortable and a lot safer for them to be in that mediocre environment.
Yeah. People in their, I love the thing you're talking about failure as well, because people in their jobs will do the opposite, is where they're scared to fail because, they're going to lose their job or something like that. You chased failure so that you can learn more through
100%.
personally, which allowed you to be promoted more.
I think speaking on, you're seeking failure, I think a lot of people are afraid of failure because they have too much to lose. So if they lose their job, then, they've set themselves up to lose, right?
Yeah.
So you lose your job, how are you going to pay your mortgage?
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to pay all your debt? Versus if you are aware of all that stuff and you set yourself up so that you have no debt, you don't have a mortgage, you're not relying on one source of income, then you can actually try all these different things and see what you're actually good at and what you like. And you can actually fail faster and find that next thing.
I think a lot of people, that kind of comes back to those excuses though. Like for me, I didn't have a plan B. I had nothing to fall back on because I had nothing. I didn't have a choice but to succeed in what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. Most people will be like, let's just say like, go get a uni degree. Maybe it's before you chase your dreams, so you have something to fall back on. That falling back thing is ridiculous, man, because that gives you an excuse. So when you're in that suffering and that struggle, you'd be like, got a family at home, man. I can just go back and do that, Or I've got this. This seems a lot easier, a lot more comfortable. I'll just go and do that. If you don't give 100% of yourself into chasing that dream or that goal or plan or whatever it is you set forward, likelihood is you're probably not going to get there.
Let's talk about that like on a higher level. Like what's actually happening is you're saying there's a hole in your game. So you want to get a job and go and do it, where it's real world shit,
Mm.
and then you get paid. What does everyone else do in this society? It's like, hey, I want to learn about sales or whatever. I'll do a sales course. I'll learn about sales, not in the real world, and I'll accrue debt.
Yeah.
Or I want to learn about interior design. Just go to someone's house, pay them $1,000, and do their furniture for them, instead of getting $20,000 of debt.
So you're
Like every
essentially
time.
you're essentially paying to learn instead of getting paid to learn.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
paid to learn.
See,
I agree on.
even scaling that back to the simplest form, everyone knows what to do. Let's just say losing weight. Everyone knows how to eat healthier, make healthier choices. Everyone knows how to exercise. Everyone knows how to do it. They just choose not to, or they keep making bullshit excuses, or they just don't do it. They keep procrastinating and be like, oh, I can't do it because of this reason or that reason, or I don't have enough time right now. I might have time later. Most people just bullshit themselves. And that comes back to just actually getting in there and doing it, rather than sitting there being like, oh, okay, I'm going to do a sales course so then I can get a sales job. Mate, just go and do the sales job and get the skills.
Start
like-
selling some
Yeah.
shit.
There's only
with the
one way you're
sales
going to
course,
learn.
right? Like even if you're doing like a uni degree or a sales course and you're paying that money, so now you've got your sunk cost bias, right? So you're paying money expecting something. You're paying money. It's like you're buying a magic pill. This will solve all my problems because I paid for it.
They will give me the knowledge that will solve everything.
It doesn't work like that. Like you have to go into the real world. Like I've done a uni degree. Things I learned at uni, 99% I don't use in the real world. Like even at school, how many times have you guys used algebra in real life?
Nah, quadratics, man. I use
Quadratics,
that all
man.
the time, bro. Yeah. No, I love that. Love that. That's an analogy I use. I don't even know what quadratics is anymore.
I mean,
It's
like
just
we
an
don't use that
analogy.
stuff in the real world. So like how much information do you actually use in the real world? It's vastly different to what you learn.
Experience is always
Theoretically.
different from, and I feel like the people teaching the course half the time, like they don't understand how to actually operate in that specific field.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just teaching the thing.
Oh, you know what's fucked up? So
Fat PE
you go to
teachers.
uni, right? Get your degree, then you go straight into PhD, get your PhD, then you go straight into teaching at uni.
Oh,
because
yeah,
you've got the
yeah,
PhD,
never
right?
even
So
gone anywhere.
what real life world experience do you have? It's just like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Like you're just getting the degree just to teach.
Yeah.
A
What are you
good
teaching?
example is like prison, right? You do an 8-week course at prison
Yeah.
to be like a recruit, and then you can go in and be a prison guard. Mate, the 8-week taught you shit all about fucking prison. Nothing. Like, congratulations, you know how to do like a case note, case management. Mate, the shit that happens in there doesn't happen in that 8-week course.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah. But that's kind of, like, if you think back on it, it's like the education system, it's how we've been raised. It's how we've kind of, the world's been taught. It's like you go get a job, work there for 40 years, retire. You don't really seek that growth. Not many people do.
Those cultural norms that are put onto people of like get married young, have a kid, get a house, like it's all put to you to keep you in a certain position, to not, take the risk or go and do something bigger, or, find the true self or achieve something that you can really, really big. It's all put in your life to be able to keep you at a certain level to work for other people. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's basic fact these days. You are kept down, and the way out is to be responsible at a young age. First of all, don't get yourself in debt.
Yeah.
Take risks, actually. Go and experience different things. Be self-aware, find your holes, fix your holes by getting that experience, and find out what you actually want to do in life.
Well, for me, I know, like, I learned more in 2-3 years of just diving into the personal development stuff than I did 12 years of school. I didn't even get my year 12. Got my year 11. But,
You
yeah,
saved yourself a lot of time, bro.
yeah. Oh, mate, I couldn't even function back then, let alone get
Yeah.
a fucking schooling degree. But, yeah, for me, still, in that period of time, that short period of time of just reading books, understanding finance, knowledge, businesses, marketing, personal development, fitness, health, all this kind of stuff destroyed everything I've ever thought of back in those last 12 years. And I, like, implementing all of that and all the life experience as well that I've got now have come together, and yeah.
I'm just gonna go to the toilet quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
We don't have to cut this. You guys can just keep going.
Yeah.
Like Joe Rogan.
I don't know, like if you dropped out at year 11, I'm just thinking, like, what did I actually learn in year 12?
I didn't even
Like
drop
extra.
out. I'd done year 12.
Oh, you did?
I just didn't get my
really?
certificate because I was barely there.
I'm just thinking, like, fuck, it actually seems pretty smart. Drop out at year 11, save an extra year.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, in
you're saving
Canberra,
so
like
much
I was
time.
brought up in ACT, so it was different. So you done like year 10, and then you had the option to go to college, which is 11 and 12. And in that path, you could go your ATAR for uni, or you could go your vocational for like your certificate and stuff. I done the 2 years. I just didn't get my certificate, but it's fine. Don't need it anyway. Honestly, in that 2 to 3 years at the very beginning, so this is probably now like 7 years since like or everything. That first couple of years of just diving into the hardcore Headstart stuff, the books, the knowledge. First of all, building the foundation within myself, and then going down the path of finances, business, marketing, and understanding all that. Like, yeah, it has set me up for the rest of my life continually.
So you started your journey, real journey at 18.
About
Did you
18,
say?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that's kind of probably like towards 19, 20.
19? And
is
that was with, hardcore Headstart.
pretty much, yeah.
Yep. And then you
Yep.
started your fitness journey there as well.
Yeah.
And then you moved into Telstra, where you're just developing all these different interpersonal skills with people.
Pretty much, yeah.
Leveling up as well, reading a ton of books, getting your knowledge up, and then you've moved into the prison role.
Yeah.
Where you've gone through so much different stuff. You've learned different stuff, right? So like
Yeah.
you had a different. So like you would have gone through stress.
Yeah,
You
so
would've
that
learned
one was
about
more
mental capability.
Yeah, so I guess coming back to like that big plan, I needed to understand pretty much going into that environment. Let's just say, for example, right, you respond to like a code going off in a yard. You don't know what you're going to be walking into responding to that. So that kind of a stress inoculation, understanding emotions, controlling thoughts, all that kind of stuff, and just experienced a whole different world, really.
Yeah.
So I gained a lot in there. And then, but all of that was to build on the path that I'm trying to go down and who I want to be.
So that was all planned.
Yeah, 100% all planned, yeah.
Far out.
Or there was a period in there where I was contemplating moving to Thailand for the fighting stuff.
For the fighting, yeah.
But that didn't really kind of come to fruition mainly because of the military side of things. So there was still like the journey down that side. But during all of that, like kind of taking a step back, like there was still so much suffering still going on and still so much like struggle going through all that because man, even though I was working at Telstra, it was still like 18-hour days, 19-hour days, I was still putting out every morning. I was still struggling. I was still suffering with like the fitness, the training, the reading the books, the podcasts, the learning, the investing, everything, and even before I got to Telstra, there was still years of just, before Telstra was probably the first few years where that was like the hardest of changing everything I ever knew, really changing me completely to a completely different person. And doing that 180 was probably the hardest part. So
yeah.
But then continuing on from that, it's set habits and it's set that foundation now of just continually to keep growing and keep setting those standards higher and higher and pushing yourself into those uncomfortable situations.
To be a person who achieves success, you need to be a completely different person than you once were, right? You need to strip that little human back, rip him to pieces, and then create something new.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
Almost
then,
literally.
After the prison, then you decided to go into the military.
Yeah. So the army was kind of a questionable one because I didn't really know if I was actually going to go down that, like if I was going to be able to get in for a number of reasons. But once I kind of got the call for that, that's where like I knew that, right, again, the beginning. And it's always for me, the way I kind of look at everything now that I do, a lot of people do come content with their lives and content with where they're at. For me, like it was always like starting from the bottom. Like wherever I went, whatever I'd done, it was always like start from the scratch. And then as you climb that mountain, if there isn't another mountain on the other side, you walk back down that bitch and climb it again. Like there was always something there to like challenge and push myself. And the military kind of opened up that door. There's so many different paths you can take down there for that exact reason, just continually challenging yourself and growing And even the short time that I've been in there, and I haven't even finished like the full training side of things, I've learned so much, you know.
What's the biggest takeaway from what you've learned so far from the military?
That I was right, I think.
In what way?
We just like the mindset, man.
Yeah.
The mindset and the thought process of that uncomfortable, seeking that uncomfortable, and the growth that's in that suffering. You know, they do a very good job of putting you through some shit and making you fucking ask some dumb questions. But even like past the military, you know, like I've still got so much more ahead of me and that I want to do, you know. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's
Do you
still
feel
just
like
beginning, man?
the stress-induced environment in the prison helped you for the military?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like some crazy shit happened in that prison, and it kind of set me up to, like, leading into the military. I had a good foundation because of the prison. You know, you get exposed to a lot of different things. You see, you're around shit a lot of the time, so you pretty much, like, that 12-hour shift, you're just around fuckheads all day most of the time. And being in that constant environment, one, makes you see humanity in a lot of different ways, because you're seeing the worst of the worst a lot of the time, but also just the situations that you kind of get yourself in, whether it was with prisoners or other guards, or the training that they have as well, you know, whether it's like baton and gas, riot training, cell extraction training, just you putting yourself in pretty much shit that you don't want to put yourself in, really. And then continually going to work every day to confront that kind of builds up on that as well. So going into the military, having that kind of stress inoculation almost, and gaining that emotional intelligence helped a lot, for sure.
What's the hardest kind of thing you've been put through at uni? At the army. Can you talk about it? Like a hard program or a hard course they put you through?
It's hard because for me, not having like a career in the army, like most like people will just look at me like, man, it's fucking nothing compared to what you're in for. But there hasn't really been one thing that's kind of stood out. It's more just
Did I just hear that shit?
Nah, Johnny voice.
nah, because I know, because I already know, like I already know what's to come. Like for me, like looking at basic training, for instance, I'm like, mate, that's just fucking get into the door to actually like start this shit.
Literally the basic.
Yeah, like there's so much there, and there's so much to unpack and uncover there that, like, mate, maybe in like 10 years I'll answer that question.
So if you're scared of what's already happened, you're screwed about what's to come.
Much, yeah. Oh, it depends. Like, again, it comes down to individual, not just the army, but in life. You can choose like the path and direction that you take. You know, if you, like I said, I chose the comfortable path and it fucked me up. So I'm going to take the uncomfortable path and see how that goes.
If that's not a message for people to listen to, I don't know what is.
That's insane.
Have we spoke about how Johnny Boy was still somehow able to get money into the markets during this entire period?
There's no excuses for that then.
Yeah.
Nah,
How'd you balance your investing in your military? Like how would you do that?
Well, when did that start?
Even before that, man, like that's the one thing that I probably struggled the most was balance. So what I found was you can't really, so you got all these aspects of your life, right? Your career, your health and fitness, your finance, your relationships, right? For those are the 4 big things for me. And being able to balance all of those while still giving your all to all of them is impossible, you know? So if I wanted to dive 100%, let's just say, into investing and stuff, my health started to take a toll. And like with the health and fitness, my relationship started to take a toll. You know, like me waking up at 3 o'clock every morning with a partner beside me and then constantly never home because I'm either working, training, or just doing something, you know, the relationships take a toll. So it took a little bit of time to kind of work out that equation, because everyone's different. Everyone's life's different. Everyone's journey's different. They're at different stages during that. You know, some people have relationships, some don't. Some people already have a good foundation of health and fitness. They can spend more time on the investing. For me, I was fucking zero at everything. So I had to like work that one out over a period of time. And even like now, so let's just say during the army training, there's no excuses to not do the investing and trading and finance. I still have time. It's just a matter of what you do with your time. And everything I've been through and everything I've worked on has shown me the value of that time. And that's probably the biggest thing, and especially even now in like our times with Corona, people don't realize that for the first time in such a long time, you actually have your time back.
Yeah.
You know, it's what you choose to do with it will determine where you go.
That's what's driving people mad, right? They don't know what to do with their time.
Yeah.
They don't want to address that. They just want to say, oh, the government's locking us down.
Dude, it's the number one thing I've heard,
But now
like
you got your
previous
time.
to COVID, is, oh, if I just had more time, I'd do this. If I just had more time, I'd do this.
Yeah.
Previous to COVID, you heard that every time. You got all the time in the world now, mate. What are you doing? I guarantee it's still nothing.
It's just people haven't answered those questions, man. They haven't been able to look themselves in the mirror and be honest with themselves.
But I think that's frightening, man, for a lot of people.
Like, yeah, it is scary as shit.
Yeah.
It is scary. And especially like back then, even now, just seeing how much work is still ahead of me. Like, man, it sucks. I can just, but that's where I also understand that things take time. Patience. Like I said, patience is a virtue, man. And especially growing up where I did and how I did and understanding that side of things and just, yeah, things take time. And most people just don't, it's a lot easier to stand back and just blame everyone else around them and everyone else in the world, you know, even like putting money into the markets, you know, I could be like, oh, I was too busy working out. I was too busy doing this. I was too busy doing that. Man, it's just excuses. Cut the bullshit, cut the noise out, you know.
If you could rent out the world's biggest billboard and put on a message there that will get seen by 7.8 billion people in the world.
Hold on, before you ask this question, let's not rip off someone's question.
Yeah,
Where'd you
I'm
get
just
this shit
asking.
from?
It's going to be the same answer as this
I'm
anyway.
just asking.
Oh no, not from me. This is from, is it Ferris or is it Timmy Ferris question? I love this question.
What would you say?
Don't be a pussy.
Don't be a
much.
pussy. That's
That's
a good one.
pretty much it. No, like straight up, don't be a pussy and just do the fucking work. Like really, most people sit there and bullshit, sit on their hands, twiddle their thumbs, and be like, I can't do this for this reason, can't do that for that. It's like, mate, just don't be a pussy. Suffer a little bit.
What about this scenario? So COVID is very tough for many people because
Mm.
people are actually dying and stuff, right? But in Australia, we're not talking about if your family members have died and all of that. We're just saying like, you know, they're complaining about the government, they're complaining about all this stuff, and you know, it's all like that's their scenario. Nothing actually has happened to them yet.
Yeah.
Like a family member hasn't died yet. Majority of people, that's their position in Melbourne. You know, we're quite fortunate that the cases and all of that are really low compared to other places in the world. Like, what would you say to like what advice would you give to like that guy?
So, for me,
Mm.
like you said, obviously it's shit times. But for me, I also count myself very lucky to be in the situation that I was in where like when Corona came, I still had a job at the prison, you know, I was still working. But it was almost like the best thing that happened to my life because I was able, like even then I was making excuses. Like I knew that the army and that was the path I still needed to go down and what I wanted to do. But I was making excuses for not running as much, not focusing on like specific parts of like my weaknesses and shortfalls. Once lockdown happened, it forced like all the outside noise to just go away. There was no distractions. There was no more excuses. There was no bullshit. So it forced me to just work 10 times harder. And it made me realize, okay, so I'm at home. Now I have more time to train in the morning from home, whether it's running, body weight stuff, whatever. Specifically the body weight kind of training is what I needed to work on. So it forced me to do that. And then it also gave me time where I could do a lot more. Like I could wake up early and do my investing and knowledge and soak in the content and just different aspects of my life that I was avoiding. Everyone has that voice in their head knowing like, mate, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. It made it louder. So it forced me like, all right, I need to recognize that now and I need to nip that shit in the butt. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So for those type of people, like actually take a step back and look at the day. Look at what you do during the day. Account for each hour. For me, I was almost pretty much accounting every 15 minutes of my day and allocating everything. You don't have to go that overboard, but just actually look at your day and look at where you're putting your time. Especially now during lockdown and during Corona, you'll find that you're wasting so much time just complaining.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And what about those people that voice in their head isn't there? Where it's like, you
Oh,
should
it's
be
there.
doing this.
It's there.
You think everyone has that?
100%. Like, you can't tell me that if someone 100%.
I guarantee you there's some blokes.
Sure, if not, they're lying. Honestly, they'll
be lying.
To themselves, or they've blocked that voice out and they don't want to confront that voice.
Yeah.
Go for a 20K run. You'll find that voice.
Start doing push-ups on the honestly, straight up. Start doing push-ups on the ground or start doing burpees. The moment it starts sucking, that voice is fucking loud as. You know, like that voice is there. It's just.
So it's the pain that brings out.
Not necessarily. For me, yeah. I think it's more the uncomfortable side of things. It's just, you know that you need to do something, but you just don't want to do it. Because whether it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's inconvenient, people would rather just choose the convenient and comfortable path. So, say for instance, like, you want to lose weight. Again, everyone knows how to lose weight. Everyone knows how to eat or make healthier decisions. Everyone knows how to just get their body moving. But they don't. You know, they choose the convenient and comfortable path, or they'll make excuses for themselves, or they'll surround themselves around people that are making excuses for them, which is probably the biggest thing.
I think that is the biggest thing. Like, if you had a better environment, more people would actually be better off. Like, they would want to level up. They want to develop personally.
So people seek that environment though. So that's, again, being the best around the mediocre. People seek those voices to tell them that it's okay to take a day off. It's okay to slack here. It's okay that you're not doing this because of this reason. You know, if they can't tell them the excuses themselves, they'll find people that'll feed them that, and that will make them feel better about themselves. And that feeling better about themselves is what keeps them trapped in that kind of mind state.
Confirm their own biases.
Yeah.
Man, that's deep. That's a ripper.
Biggest takeaway for me is, like, every time you've gone and seek this discomfort, then you've grown. So this corona it's another form of discomfort. If you can look at it with a proactive mindset, like, boys, this is an opportunity for me to grow.
It also exposed a lot of people. So you can bullshit yourself pretty easy without putting in the work. So, like, if you want to say, I don't know, a good example is a fight, right? You go into a fight, like Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, whatever. If you go into that knowing that you've done the work, you have the confidence going in, being like, I'm going to win this. But if you go in saying, I'm going to win this, and you fucking slacked off and you know you slacked off, as soon as you get in that ring, you're bullshitting yourself. You can't, you're sitting there saying, yeah, I'm going to go in and win this. That positive mindset and positive talk means fuck all because you haven't put in the work.
It's just lies.
So it's the same, like bringing it back to the corona stuff, where it exposed people's mindset. It exposed how they think. It exposes the way they, just the whole operating system within themselves. It exposes all of that. And you know the people that are actually putting in the work and the people that are making excuses.
Yeah, the best got better and the weak got weaker.
Well, it's the same as like rich versus poor, man. You know, like the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer, but the poor keep blaming the rich for being poor.
It's all mindset thing. Like, what are the problems that people facing? Like, let's not talk about the death stuff, but like most problems for me, they seem money related.
Absolutely.
You know, like what we always preach is tough times are always coming. That's human history.
Yeah.
More tough times are going to come. Like, I reckon you got to be prepared for it. There could be a black swan that happens tomorrow. Even a black swan event that you can't predict. It's going to happen tomorrow. You need a buffer. You got to build that. You know, so like tough times, they create tough men. The tough men that are prepared for the next tough times, they're going to be all right. The people that are just like, oh, it's not going to happen to me and all of that, that don't prepare, they're going to get destroyed.
Slaughtered.
I think that's natural selection, right?
If you think about
that's
it,
brutal. If you think about it,
I second that.
I mean, you're not prepared, so naturally you're going to get selected not to progress.
have you guys heard that saying? Great men bring great times make weak men. Weak men make hard times, or something like that.
And hard times make great men.
It's a bloody cycle.
So
it's a cycle.
It's just ever fulfilling cycle, which is.
And I think Jordan Peterson talks about that, right? And we're at the stage of soft men.
Yeah,
right now.
Soft men everywhere.
So soft men will create hard times.
It's common, man.
It's common, boys. It's common.
There's always going to be hard times though, man. And that's where, like, if you haven't put in the work to build on that mindset, man, those tough times are going to be rough. Fucking being there, shit's rough.
Man, I think in our immediate circle of friends and people we know, I think you are the most savage person
Nah.
that
See,
we've
like I
come
said, it's
across,
hard because to me, it's just normal. You know, like
The fact that you say that it's normal makes you savage.
He's kicked me one time. He's a savage. He's kicked me in the leg. Nah, I'm out.
it's just standards, man. Like I remember it was a while ago, I was telling Book about, or even Doc about just running, just that little things that you do within yourself. Mate, this is when I knew, okay, fair enough. This is when I knew I had a problem, right? One day I went for a run, I had to shit.
This is
This-
insane.
So
This is insane.
the moment I needed to shit, I was like, I'm fucked because I ain't stopping until I get to the door.
And how far were you away?
I was like at least 3 Ks away from my front door.
Jeez, bro.
I had to shit so bad.
Oh my
And I'm like,
man.
I'm legit going to shit my pants before I stop running. But like that,
Yeah.
he's
Good
like
going, man.
developing that mindset. But that came from doing shit like, let's just say I needed to do a 5K run, right? And I knew like what time I had to hit because I've either hit it before or I just know that I can run this time, right? If I don't run it, I'm fucking back out there doing it again and again and again until I get it. That, when you kind of have that mindset over a long period of time, you're just building that habit and it becomes normal, you know? So for me, like my normal, all right, sure, like now it's just running while fucking trying to hold a shit in, but like
That's the best
back
sentence. That's the best sentence
Do you
ever.
think you'll get better as you get older? Like
100%, because for me, it never stops.
Yeah.
Like there's no finish line. I may have like a false finish line in my head where I'll be like, all right, I need to get to this point or whatever. But as soon as I get there, I'm like, nah, fuck it, joke's on you. Like there's another one. You know, like there's always
love
something
that.
more.
I
There's
love
always
that.
something more. And the moment that you start like seeking like that content feeling, and it's the same with money and finance. You know, most people have this idea that like money will fix all their problems. Like, yes, money does fix problems, but mate, if you're sitting there drinking pina coladas on a beach, like you're doing it wrong, you know. And fitness and same with like financial literacy go hand in hand. Like you need to suffer to actually understand the value behind everything that's there.
People don't realize to become the person who can like sit on, or who has the ability, or sorry, the means or the resources to sit on the beach sipping a pina colada. You're not that person who's
Yeah.
actually going to be able to sit there and sip that pina colada.
You want to be
You're
the
a
person
different
owning the
person.
hotel on that beach.
Oh yeah.
own that hotel, baby.
Nah, but yeah, I know. Like I said, to me, it's just there's always going to be something, always till the day I die. Because yeah, the moment I start becoming content is the day that I stop moving forward and really start dying. You know.
So have you say you map out everything in your life. Have you mapped out your legacy as well?
Yeah, building it as we speak. So, and it's something where, like, especially now with like my daughter and my kids, it's almost weird. It's a motivation. Like when she was here and came, especially, it was like, again, just growing, just understanding that this is a whole different type of motivation now, and it's more so still selfish, where I know that I need to be so much more and so much better, so that I can then pass it down onto them and continue on that legacy. But that thought of just being, I don't want my kids to look up to someone else. I want my kids to look up to me. I want to be my kid's hero. And that kind of sat with me a lot of the time through everything that I have been through, but more so now that she's here, you know, and creating that legacy and being able to pass it on to not only her, but everyone else, man, like being able to pay it forward and just help, because there's no point going through everything that I have. Hopefully me speaking about it, or someone can actually relate to it, or they can take little snippets of it or bits and pieces here and there just to help them in their life and their journey, wherever they may be at.
Be your kid's hero
Yeah.
That's a beautiful, beautiful line.
You know, whenever I look at you, Johnny, I just think of, you know, David Goggins, Jocko Willink, Joe Rogan.
Nah, not
Those
that
are
level.
some of our top 5 heroes. Who are your top 5 heroes?
At the start, so like with the early on the hardcore Headstart stuff, I didn't have anyone around me. So it was just pretty much myself. So I didn't have anyone to look up to. So a big thing for me was like those Rogan, Goggins, Willink, those are the same people. Even like McGregor back in the day, you know, so like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, these people that done extraordinary things and pushed their boundaries and push the limits despite other people's limitations on themselves. So just trying to find those type of people. But as time's gone on, it's pretty much transitioned to just myself in the future. So I'm really chasing myself. So I look at myself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I'm like, no, I'm going to beat that motherfucker, and once I get there, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, nah, I used to up there now. It's like, it's 5, that continuous growth. So there was a point where I transitioned out of using a lot of like my growing up and childhood and early life to push me forward. Once I overcame that and answered a lot of those questions within myself, I was at peace almost. Like that weight was lifted off my shoulders. I was at peace. I was good. Then it transitioned into, all right, now, like, how far can I push this? Like, where are my limits at? Where are my boundaries at? And it's just that continuous push and chasing myself in that future.
Far out, man. That's intense, boys.
Dude, this is Johnny Boy's second podcast.
Johnny Boy.
And he's just been able to articulate his thoughts that well.
See, I struggle with that shit, man. Like, it's very hard to get like the stuff in my head.
What you're talking about, Johnny.
Hey, no, you don't. How do I tell you this?
We spent 6 months trying to get decent at speaking in front of the mics and cameras, mate. You're doing it on your second try, mate.
It's, I don't know. It's hard for me to like even comprehend because a lot of people almost no one actually knows my story, especially my childhood. Like, there's obviously a lot there that I don't speak of. But no one knows my story, my journey. No one really actually understands anything that I've ever been through or grown up. I kept that shit quiet. One, I was shameful for a lot of stuff that did happen back then. And I couldn't talk to anyone. Like, I could barely have a conversation with anyone, let alone tell them my fucking life story. But now it's more, all right, this is potentially an avenue of, if I can open up and tell a little bit about my journey and my story and where I'm coming from, then hopefully someone else out there, even if it's just one person, can take something from it. Then at least I'm trying to help,
It feels like you're authentically yourself now. So whatever you say, whenever you speak anything, it's just so natural. So
yeah,
because it's not rehearsed,
Nah, because I don't really give a fuck when anyone thinks.
Exactly, yeah. Just don't give a
I
fuck.
just don't care, And
subtle I'm not giving a fuck.
because I think a lot of it stems back to, like, I know that they just are dealing with shit, So even like my parents, I don't judge them. I don't hold them or anyone else accountable for anything. Like, I know that everyone's going through something. They're just at different stages in their life, different stages during that journey, different challenges, different things they need to overcome that they're either are fighting or they're choosing not to fight. It's not my place to be like, all right, you're a piece of shit because of this reason, or I make excuses for myself of where I'm at, when I know at the end of the day, I'm a grown-ass man. I make my own choices and I can respond and react to any situation however I choose. And yeah, I don't really give a fuck what you say. So.
So you're 25 now.
Yeah.
Do you have any goals by the age of 30 that you want to hit?
There's a lot there that will soon. I don't usually like speaking on it. I just rather show. You'll see.
Okay. I like
You'll
that
see.
answer.
I love this
Such a
dude,
Johnny
bro.
boy.
I love this dude so
I feel like you
much.
could be the real life John Wick.
Maybe.
Get yourself a puppy, man.
I got one. The dog is. It's a crackhead dog, but it's fine.
Dude, your dog's batshit crazy.
Yeah,
No
he's
disrespect.
bananas. Absolutely bananas. It's fine. Suits me well.
Speaking on that, that analogy that we had on the previous podcast about thinking of yourself within a role-playing game and then leveling up different attributes. Like, on a scale of like level 1 to level 100, where would you say you are right now?
1. Like, 2, maybe.
2?
I think, well, if I get to 100, it's just going to be like prestige, mate. Go back to level 1. Like,
So you feel like you've hit 100 multiple times and you've
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely. Well, it's like that kind of plateau. You hit a ceiling. For me, like, everything I kind of do, like, I know that I'll get to a point, like, say again with Toshin, I'll get to a point and I'm like, all right, I've done everything I can. I've learned as much as I could for what I need. Going through life, I'll always have that mindset of being one. I'll always have that hunger. No matter what it is, I'll always be hungry for whatever it is I'm chasing, because I know that I need that obsession. I need that strive for perfection and that hunger there, or else I'm not going to be able to get to where I want to be. And I know that I'm not going to be able to reach the potential limitations that I need to find. So yeah, one.
I think as well, for like many people that are going on this journey of like success and all of that, sometimes they lie to themselves that they're actually working hard.
Yeah.
And we had a joke last time about, they always say like, hey, well, my dad's a great investor, and they like learn from the like low quality people.
Yeah.
Say it.
My
Say
joke's
it.
like, mate, do you know Peter Thiel? Because he's on another level. So what I want to say today is, hey, if you think you're working hard, do you know my mate Johnny Boy? Do you know Johnny Boy?
Dude, that's the next shirt.
He's outworking you, man.
Dude, we're using that so much.
That's the next hoodie, boys.
I
You
can't
know
wait.
my mate Johnny Boy?
He's got Johnny Boy's little face right here.
See, no one actually knows this, but I play games in my mind with everyone, like everything I do, right? Even if I'm like going on a run with someone, or like I'm training with someone, or even the army and shit, like in my head, I ain't fucking losing.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to die before I lose.
Dude, when we go
You
for
know
a
that.
run with you, we know that, but we just can't.
No,
No,
so
you make us
physically-
better. Like when it comes to fitness, we're all pretty average. But like whenever we're associated with you, we just I don't know what it is. Like we do the 10K jogs with the water jugs, right? On a hot day, it seems impossible. Whenever we're with you, we're just like, let's get it done, boys.
You're the barometer. You are the barometer
Yeah.
for our physical.
Like you push us
no,
along
that's
with
good.
you.
I hope that, like, obviously, I think all of us can kind of attest here that we have kind of squashed that ego, and we understand that, like, obviously a lot of the negative side of ego, like from ego, but in saying that, like, obviously it's good to hear that, like, obviously just being able to help, like I didn't really understand at the time. And I think a big part of me realized that when I was with like my partner and that, where just them subconsciously just doing things that may be better, whether it's waking up earlier and shit like that. Like I don't go out of my way and be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like, man, I'm just living my life, hopefully if people can just see the lessons that I'm learning and maybe me pass down those lessons that I have learned, that it can help you guys, and I don't see myself as that. I still see myself as an absolute like nothing peasant, because I know that there's so much more out there, and there's so many people out there that are still working harder, a lot harder than I ever could, but I'm always going to strive to get there. You may be like outworking me, but I know that I'll literally die before
You
like
lose.
pretty much. Yeah.
Damn, bro.
All right, boys. If
I
there's a
gotta-
better way to finish a podcast.
I got 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Beautiful.
Ending questions, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe we're in a simulation?
I wouldn't be surprised if we were. Definitely wouldn't be surprised.
What makes you say that?
Just because there's so many possibilities, man. How do you know?
We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So unless like there's fact that you actually know, how do you know?
We don't know.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
Until you can
I say
disprove
I
it.
believe it's unlikely, but I would not be surprised if they were like, boys, you're in a sim.
Dude, imagine you just wake up, like you died, you wake up, you're like, fuck, that was a mad trip, bro.
Fuck, that'll be intense.
You take like the VR stuff off and you're like, fuck. Or it's actually just like a little clip, a little disc on the side of your head, like Black Mirror. You just take that off, you're like,
Because
far
time
out.
is relative, right? So for all intents and purposes, like someone could be sleeping and this could be someone's dream, or someone could be in a VR and we are in the VR. You never know. Like, there's just so many different
You just don't
possibilities,
know.
so many different scenarios.
dude, that's.
So it's hard to disprove it, boys. Fuck.
Sam has asked everyone this question.
I'm
He's
trying
like,
to think of this, boys.
tell me the answer. God damn. What's the second question?
Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah. Maybe not aliens, but I believe there's something else out there. Surely. There has to be like, my humans are pretty fucking dumb, to be honest. Like if you think
Preach.
about it.
To think we're special.
I know.
I mean,
All
we're
right.
literally on the same planet fighting over a bit of land because we have 2 different belief systems.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I think, yeah, there's something more out there. We're one planet. Think of like the universe, man.
And that too, we're a small planet.
Yeah.
It's just basic math. Like the probability of us
numbers.
being the only intelligent life. It just doesn't make sense, boys.
But it was.
All right. Jonathan, I'll do the thank you, because whatever we just were able to witness and being a part of your life and your journey is an honor. Being able to watch your growth, which started with, our mentor as well, is such a beautiful experience. The person you are now is a strong savage, and to see you now have a daughter, it's pretty emotional. It's pretty exciting. So I am ridiculously excited to see what you do in the future. A little bit terrified, but wildly excited. Thanks for coming on, and
No, I appreciate
love
it.
can't wait to have you
man.
on soon again.
No, it's always
Gotta bring
good.
you on.
It's
You always got
good
anything
being with
else?
you lads. So I definitely appreciate the time.
Give me something, because you're the man who mentored him through all of this.
Well,
You can't
Well,
say
yeah.
like, I know, I kind of see where he's going to come from here and be like,
I
oh,
know exactly
nah,
what he
boys, they didn't really do much. But in all seriousness, that I definitely would not be here today, who I am today, without Dylan. He didn't realize it at the time, but his just belief, that small little belief in me of allowing me to actually dream, led me to where I am today. And a lot of that hardcore head start, especially where it was back then and where he was going with it all, just throwing myself into that, man, it literally changed my life. And it's going to not only change my life, but my kids' lives and everyone else around me, that's influenced by whatever it is I do, is all back on that. So
yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. Is like, we're not taking credit for anything. We're just saying we have like a vision here. This is how life can be really good. We're just trying to light that fire, and then it's up to you guys. Up to the audience. If they want something, and they just got to do it now. We can
it's
show
that
you
drive.
that better shit exists. Go do it.
We'll show you the picture and we'll show you the possibilities, but it's up to you to have that drive within yourself, and it will always fall back on you. And when you do get in those hard times and those struggles, if you haven't put in the work and you haven't answered those questions, man, it'll be rough. But if you have that drive and that obsession and just that will to be better than the day before, then that continuous growth, man, there's so many possibilities out there for you.
Back her up.
Excellent, boys. Pack her up.
Back it up.
Let's go, Jonna.
Let's go.
Thank you for listening.